What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your second stimulus check update. And in this video, we have some breaking news from the White House. And I have lots of new details for you guys about stimulus checks, about the unemployment, about the payroll tax cut, about multiple different things that are going to affect more money in Americans' pockets. So make sure you watch all the way to the end because there is a lot of different stimulus topics covered in this video. So we're going to get right into that, but first, if you can, click the subscribe button for me down below if you're not subscribed yet. This way you won't miss out on second stimulus check update videos, and smash the like button for me if you can. It really helps out our channel. Okay, first things first, President Donald Trump gave over an hour-long speech last night. Apparently there was a security breach, and let me show you this clip.
Be topping records hopefully soon. Excuse me?
All that is photograph shutters, if you hear that. So apparently there was an armed person at the White House on the outer perimeter who had a weapon, and apparently the Secret Service had to take him down and whisk the president away because there are windows in that room of the White House, and they took the president away, and all the reporters rushed to the windows to look outside, and apparently it was a big situation. And apparently, after President Trump was allowed to come back in the room, he came right back in and actually took questions from reporters, and they were asking him, wasn't he concerned for his safety? And he said no, he wanted to get right back in and give the rest of the speech. And he had nothing but praise for the Secret Service, saying that he had complete confidence in them, and he went back in and gave the speech. And there was a lot of details in that speech regarding stimulus and the 4 presidential executive orders that he signed. So first things first, let's go over the unemployment money, when we're going to receive it, and all the details that the president gave on that. He said he just had a meeting with all the state governors today, and that, quote, a lot of money will be going out to a lot of people very quickly. He said that he expects the unemployment payments, the $400 boost money that he passed with a presidential executive order, to begin going out within a week or 2. So it doesn't look like you're going to be getting it this week, but as soon as 1 week or 2. He also said in an earlier statement that the states that don't have the money to pitch in their 25% of this unemployment boost, that they can file papers with the White House, and the White House will cover their portion if they can't. A lot of people were very concerned about that, so I think that's pretty cool that they addressed that, and the states that don't have any money will be able to have the money funded by the federal government. The president had mentioned earlier that he wants to get as much stimulus money out to as many Americans as possible. That includes the unemployment money for people that are unemployed. That also includes the payroll tax deduction for people that are working, which is currently almost 50% of America. Up to 140 million people are going to benefit that. And I'm going to tell you about why Social Security is not going to be hurt about that in a second. And he also hinted about more stimulus coming in the future, which makes me think about a $1,200 check. Now, there's been some debate that the president can't pass a $1,200 check directly by a presidential executive order, but he did do that with the unemployment. And here's where the rub is, okay? With the unemployment money, they're taking that money from a fund that already exists, the Disaster Relief Fund, and money from the first stimulus check for states, and they're already using money that's already allocated for disaster relief, okay? So that is how the president got around the part where, the president can't pass money in a presidential executive order. He can't fund things. Congress has to be the ones that pass where actual money is spent. Well, the money's already been allocated for disaster relief, and that is where he got the money for the unemployment extension. So that doesn't necessarily rule out that he can't do the same thing for a $1,200 check to Americans. A couple things we need to note here. Number one is that these presidential executive orders are meant to be temporary orders, okay? What is meant to happen is for the Republicans and the Democrats to come together within the next coming weeks or coming days and pass a more permanent order to unemployment, the $1,200 checks, and all the other stuff that they want to include in this bill. Then they won't need to take the money out of the disaster relief fund anymore. That fund only needs to pay out money until they can come to a permanent agreement with Congress. Now, if or when Congress does come to an agreement, there's almost a for sure thing that will include a $1,200 check and a check to all dependents, because both the Republicans and the Democrats and the president have all said that they want checks for at least $1,200. Okay, next up, the president had said earlier that the payroll tax deduction will not harm Social Security. He said the money that will be funded for Social Security will now come out of the general fund of the United States. So basically, he's saying that the payroll tax cut, even though workers won't be paying into Social Security or Medicare, and they might possibly have to pay that back later, but that probably won't happen. They'll probably pass a law that'll say, basically, it's waived, you don't need to pay it back. And then he said that the general fund of the United States will actually pay the Social Security and the Medicare portion, so that Social Security and Medicare will not be harmed. If that happens, and all that happens, that sounds like a win-win. Here's why. Everybody that's working and currently getting a check from working right now, that's almost 50% of the United States, will receive a 7.65% raise in their paycheck. I went over the math in this past video right here. You can watch that next if you want. I got a link to that down in the description. But in short, anybody making around $45,000 will essentially get a $1,200 stimulus or a $1,200 bonus from this payroll tax deduction in the last quarter of this year. If you make twice as much as that, you would actually get $2,400 saved from this payroll tax deduction. If you make half as much as that, about $23,000, you would receive $600 from the payroll tax deduction. Again, 7.65% of your earnings for the last 4 months of the year. So most people are going to get anywhere from a $600 to a $2,000 payroll tax deduction, and it won't harm Social Security because they're going to pay for that out of the general fund of the United States. So that sounds really good. It's more stimulus money for working people. The unemployed people are getting their stimulus money, and we're possibly going to see $1,200 checks in the future if Congress can agree, which will cover a lot more people. In fact, the working people and the unemployed people will actually get double checks then. And if you're not working and you're not employed, and maybe you're like retired or on SSDI, Social Security or something like that, then you would look forward to the $1,200 check being passed by Congress in the near future. Also, the president mentioned that he wanted 2 tax cuts. He wants a capital gain tax cut and another tax cut for the middle class and lower class, and that he wants to do that soon. So we actually could see a tax cut for lower and middle income people pretty soon. Apparently, one of the few things that is holding up a stimulus package being passed with a permanent extension of unemployment and a $1,200 check and a check for dependents is the state and local cities aid, or basically bailout money for states and cities that have mismanaged their money. The Democrats want basically $915 billion, almost $1 trillion, for states and cities bailout money, while the Republicans are offering $150 billion, the same amount from the CARES Act, which is the first stimulus package. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin called the Democrat request for nearly $1 trillion in new money an absurd number. He says there's plenty of money there now. We've put more money on the table. We're not going to give $1 trillion for state and local cities. That's just not a reasonable approach. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, one of the two negotiators for the Republicans, said that they're willing to negotiate as soon as Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer want to come back to the table, as long as they're reasonable and want to negotiate. So make sure you've hit the like button for me down below and make sure you've subscribed. We're going to have a lot of new information coming out about stimulus checks, unemployment, when we're going to receive the money. There's just so much news going on right now. I have YouTube videos going live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and also 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you guys tune in so you don't miss out on any of this news. I will keep you guys updated as soon as new news comes out. And this top video is my newest stimulus check video. You can watch that next. And this video teaches you how to start a business selling products on Amazon. I have students that have replaced their entire 9-to-5 income by selling one product on Amazon. And I teach people how to do this. So you guys can watch those videos next. Thanks, and I will see you in the next video.